Q&Asa. Game on daily.
Welcome to the world of Q&Asa. I'm not prepared. I hope that you are better prepared than I am so that you can bring some topics and make this lots of fun. It's the 52nd episode, which means even ignoring all the gaps, we're a year in to Q&Asa. And as it's such a special occasion, we might talk about Activision Blizzard King a little bit. Yes, the background is nice and easy. Yes, it is Psychonauts. Yes, I am on top chat still. Running an hour earlier today, as you can tell if you're already here live, but I can see most of the useful names don't seem to mind. You're all here anyway. That's good to know. Peter, Painful Discourse, Isla, Tom, ooh. Who else have I missed? Dion, welcome Dion. Well, that's a little bunch of names, isn't it? That's a good start. Thank you for joining me. Oh, and there's Tony with the first. Welcome Tony as well, of course. It's going to be short, sharp and concise. So I'm running an hour early with good reason because I do need to get off nice and early. But I couldn't not do Q&A so when I haven't streamed all week either. I felt too guilty. I've got 4 members on this channel and like I got to serve you this delicious content. So welcome to Q&A sir. You all know how it works. We're going to talk about some games. It's conversational. So whole time I'm reading chat, trying to keep up with everything, trying to talk to you all, but you can also talk to each other. That's all good fun. That's method 1 for getting involved. Alex S, welcome. It's not over. The FTC has an appeal going. We'll get to that in a minute. So talking chat, back and forth, talk to each other nicely. That's all good. What's method 2? I've forgotten the structure. I've forgotten how this show works. Method 2 is, there'll be a Q&A box, a YouTube Q&A box. So if there's anything that you feel I'm glossing over or missing or that needs urgent attention, needs attention in general, stick it in the Q&A box. So at the end of the show, we go through all of those one at a time, address them, if not answer them. Usually I'll answer them, but I don't want to promise because then Tony will ask something absolutely absurd and I'll need to back out of my own promise. You just finished the documentary about the Psychonauts 2 development. I've not watched that. I've heard it's actually very good. YouTube changed how you can access my account. Welcome episode 13. So maybe there is no Q&A box today if Isla's stuck. Probably not though. It'll probably turn up at some point. Method number 3 is Discord. So if you want to come and talk on Discord, either with your face or just your voice, whatever, join the Game on Daily Discord server. Stick yourself in one of the waiting rooms under Q&Asa, and if I notice, then I'll drag you in for a little chat. If I don't notice, then I don't know. There'll be ways to get my attention. But that's the thing. That's an option. It's there if you want it. Of course, you don't have to. And option 4 is you can send me super chats. The minimum price for a super chat is $400. If you're desperate for your super chat to be read out, just super chat $400 with your message, and I will surely read it. I'm joking. You don't super chat, none of you are really allowed. So that's it. That's how the show's going to work. I've not played much this week, so this first section is very reliant on what you've been playing. I have played like a little bit. Before the show started today, I was playing Grimlord in virtual reality. So you may or may not know, but I've got version 2 of the treadmill. My new treadmill arrived. I had some difficulty getting it delivered in the first place, and then further difficulty getting it set up. But as of yesterday, it works perfectly, and I'm very, very happy. And today I thought I'm going to give Grimlord a go. Grimlord, if you haven't heard of it, I'm going to find a trailer. Can I find a trailer for Grimlord? I sure can. It's quite a small game as far as I know, but it sells itself on the premise that it's Dark Souls in virtual reality. Who would want a thing like that? Who wants difficulty in virtual reality? You want to coast along, have a nice time, kill some stuff, cause some chaos, maybe throw some cups. But no, Grimlord is for the people that insist they want something difficult. And from what I've seen of it so far, I got to its first like proper enemy. So you go through a tutorial and there's some zombies that don't really fight back. They're very nice and snuggly and you can kind of stand in front of them and kill them in your own time at your leisure. Then you get to the first, like this soldier guy who's guarding the exit of the tutorial. He's not as easy. He takes quite a long time. He's not difficult, but he takes quite a long time. And yeah, I haven't got past that one yet. He killed me with like that much of his health left. I got I got cocky. I tried to kiss him. Turns out he only needs to hit you like 2 or 3 times with the axe and it's all over. So that's Grimlord, and I've nearly found a trailer. I haven't played much else this week. I haven't finished Horizon Forbidden West yet. It's still my go-to pancake game. And I got to a really, really good bit just over a week ago, but I've been way sidetracked away from it and not got to the end. So I really do want to finish that. I really will finish that, even though it's not virtual reality. I did play a fair amount of trying to get Cyberpunk to work nicely in virtual reality, which I'm halfway there. Works nice and it looks good. I've not got a good way to like capture and share it, and I've not got a good way to get it on the treadmill yet. So I'm holding fire on Cyberpunk. The Cyberpunk in VR is a real thing that can be done, and it's good fun. What about all of you though? What have you been playing? Tell me. Give me the games. Episode 13, Battle 2042. Battlefield 2042 has a new game mode and it's pretty fun. Nothing massive, but it's decent. It seems the game is in a better place now. So I played Battlefield 2042 like a couple of weeks before it came to subscription services and EA Play and Game Pass and all of those kinds of things. And it was very much better than when it launched, and actually quite playable. I did have some fun with it. What's the new mode all about? Because you say that it's not massive, but smaller modes are kind of my favorite. Dion, you finished Horizon recently. What did you think of it? Don't tell me the ending, but what did you think of the game overall? I've been chipping away at it for like over a year now. I got it when it came out February last year, and I've not finished it yet. I really am enjoying it. Haven't got to the end. No answer for your Q&Asa. Painful Discourse, what did you ask? Does YouTube allow endoscope camera feed though? You didn't get an answer for that because I didn't understand the question. Oh no, I do understand the question. I do understand the question. Like, I was thinking kaleidoscope. I thought you wanted like fancy colors and shit on the camera. I was like, of course YouTube will allow fancy colors, but I'm not sure that I really want to play with that kind of thing at the moment. But no, now I've reread it, processed what you said. I don't know YouTube's rules on such things, but you're not getting it. Not even for the $400 super chat. Dion's playing Ori, Will of the Wisp, and are you playing it on the... there's some debate over how you say this. I'm going to go with ROG, which is how they say it in their trailers. You're playing it on the Asus ROG handheld, and you're playing Final Fantasy 16 on the PlayStation. Space Denizen, you've been playing Risk of Rain 2 VR. Dark Souls with the Luke Ross mod, and Synapse. So Space Denizen, the Cyberpunk stuff that I've been playing with, that was with the Luke Ross mod, and I was not satisfied by the amount of ghosting on any like straight edges and with any motion. Have you tried Cyberpunk? I need to know if the other games available, like Dark Souls, exhibit the same problems as Cyberpunk, or if that is just because Cyberpunk is like taking the piss on the demands. Because I was running Cyberpunk very high settings with like psycho ray tracing and all the rest of it. What is a Luke Ross mode? Luke Ross is a chap that has a Patreon. He makes mods for virtual reality. No, he makes mods for pancake games to make them fully playable in virtual reality. But he has quite a stubborn insistence on not changing any of the controls. So he makes games like Cyberpunk and Elden Ring and Hogwarts Legacy and Dark Souls and Grounded. It's only a list of like 9 or 10 games. Lets you play them entirely in VR, but you have to still use like your Xbox controller or your keyboard and mouse. You have to still play the game as it launched, just with a different perspective, which is part good. Personally, I would prefer to have so Prey Dog mods things, like the Resident Evil games, adds motion controls and things like that, which I find worthwhile as an upgrade. But Luke Ross is doing some cool stuff. But the one that I tried was Cyberpunk, and it didn't look right for reasons that I won't overly get into because it's a bit super nerd. I'd quite like to play Grounded though. So Grounded you can play, I could be in VR and whoever I'm playing with could be on Pancake and it would all work nicely and probably be quite an exciting game just because the scale of it to be there in VR would suit it very well. ROG Ally, yes. They don't call it ROG though, right? I would read it as ROG. Some people have been calling it Rogue. In all the official materials they say ROG. Republic of Gamers Ally. Episode 13 is small mode, hard to explain, only 4 flags, but they rotate around the map. So basically, it's a lot of hotspots and it's action-packed. I've missed something. What are you playing there? Oh, this is the game mode in Battlefield 2042. Okay, small mode is good though. Like, I always found in the Battlefield games, they get pretty overwhelming. Spectacle's always been there. You look around and there's always all kinds of shit going on. And you can go onto YouTube and find your Battlefield moments. And there's like incredible stuff happening with people paragliding onto the back of people carriers and laying their C4 and then jumping onto a helicopter and obviously dying on the Blaze helicopters. You can't really jump on like that. But all kinds of things happen in Battlefield. You've got all of these big moments. Ejecting from an aeroplane with your bazooka and taking out your rivals or whatever. I never get those. When I play Battlefield, I run across a field for 10 minutes and then get sniped in the back of the head. And I go, oh, guess I'm doing that again. Or I run across a field for 10 minutes and then just get blown up by a tank. And go, right. Like the scale is impressive, but I'm not doing well or having fun right now. And then I went to 2042. And some of the older Battlefield games, I played some of the smaller modes in those, which is why when you said it was a small mode, it kind of caught my attention in a positive way. See, you blow up the tank. I don't understand the game well enough. I think that's not strictly true. I did play 2042 enough to kind of get used to what equipment and artillery you need to use to be blowing up the tanks. But I'm never the guy that gets in the tank. And it's surely more fun if you get in a tank, right? But yeah, 2042, you're on it, you're enjoying it, you're good with that. AJH, are you playing Psychonauts 2 or are you recognizing my background? And Space Denizen, have you cleared Synapse yet? I had a good run on Synapse that I did live on stream and I got right near the end and then died. Then I got my treadmill, so I haven't gone back to it yet. Space Denizen, the distortion is common in all the games that you've tried with the Rosmod. Dark Souls being the cleanest. But your 2080 is a little underpowered for Cyberpunk VR, so you thought you'd be better off. The problem with it is I will slightly go into the nerdy details. He introduced alternate eye rendering, which means it's like the DLSS frame generation, except it's alternating eyes and it's calculating some of the frames for each eye alternately. So you get a real frame in that eye and a fake frame in that eye, and then the other way around, and it renders very quickly like that. Essentially, that's not quite accurate, but close enough. But the fake frames are generating the blur and the ghosting, and it used to be that there was an option in there called like real mode or something that didn't. That was just brute forcing, giving you the whole game simultaneously. That mode isn't available in the game that I tried in Cyberpunk. I need it back. I'd sacrifice settings to get rid of those blurry lines. So I will try and let Luke know. This is your favourite show? We've not even started talking about the stuff everyone wants to talk about yet. Everyone wants to talk about like Microsoft and ABK, right? You love it. AGH, you're playing Insurgency Sandstorm. That's because it landed on Game Pass, right? Did anyone try Sword and Fairy on Game Pass? Because that was slightly obscure game that I heard of like a good year or two back, because it was supposed to be one of the nicer examples of ray tracing and stuff on the PC. Like they went quite high end on the tech without necessarily having much of a game behind it. But then I saw it came to Game Pass, I thought, oh, maybe I should give that a go. The Scorpion in Halo is so satisfying. Most everything in Halo is quite satisfying. Like the game does some things right. It just did content wrong. Painful discourse, you always get in the tank. Do you know why I don't get in vehicles on Battlefield? What was the which Battlefield game launched with the Xbox 360 with Kinect? Tom, you know we're all about the nips here. You get to those shops and get whatever you need. Welcome, Dodge. Was it Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 that launched with the Xbox 360, or something completely different? I'm way out of my counting. Counting is difficult. Whichever one came out with the 360 with the Kinect, though, it had some stupid gimmick feature. Like loads of games that launched on the 360, Not Bad Company 3, one of the mainline Battlefields. The gimmick that it went for was... oh, no, it must be Xbox One, actually. I didn't have Kinect on the 360. So the launch on the Xbox One came with Battlefield 4, I think. But it had this Kinect feature. There was... Like Dead Rising had a smart glass feature and some silly Kinect stuff. Rise had you shouting fire, volley, and all of that stuff. Battlefield had something where if you were in a vehicle, you could like look around by turning your head. This was their novel concept of using Connect in some special way on Battlefield to make it special on the Xbox. Yeah, you could use your voice, but you can also do something with your head, which obviously, if you think through with any kind of logic, is a terrible idea because your TV's not moving. So you could like steer a vehicle by doing that, but if you did, you couldn't see anymore. I got in a boat on the very first level of a multiplayer game. Some people jumped in the boat with me. You had to like take this like a dinghy life raft thing that you had to take to shore. So I got in this boat, another like 3 or 4 people got in the back of it. I went to leave the ship that you start on to drive towards the beach and like commence the assault. And it went, oh, you've got to connect. Fucking spear over there somewhere, spun me around and exploded. And there were 4 people that were just not very happy with me. So I never got in a vehicle again. Connect traumatized me by making me crash my boat into a ship. And I've never got into a vehicle since. So that's why I don't get in the tanks on Battlefield 2042 or any other. That's why I just run for 10 minutes and then get sniped or blown up. Because of one terrible experience. That's a funny thing though, episode 13. You say Connect was wasted, you really enjoyed the voice controls, it's a shame. Most of the good implementations of the Connect were just that, they were the voice commands. Like, you don't need a Connect for voice commands, you need a $2 microphone in the console. Why is there not a $2 microphone in the console for those Connect functions that were actually effective? It did other things. I liked the Connect on the Xbox One could read your heart rate through your face, which was a nice feature if you were doing any of its like fitness games and stuff. There was probably some other like potential good uses for it. I do think it is a shame that they killed it, because what Connect was for me was like something unique about the Xbox. The Xbox and the PlayStation, once they took away Connect and all of that, they were the same thing. But Connect, for better or worse, did make the Xbox different. And different is good when you're talking about hardware like that. It makes it more worthwhile. Yeah, I understand why it went away, but you can use your smart speaker. Yeah, you can tune Alexa and probably Google's one as well to have some functionality with the Xbox. But AJH, as much as you hate to say it, Connect could have worked so well with VR. It could have worked as a supplementary device for VR. The latency on it wouldn't work with VR. Like, you couldn't have it as your primary way of tracking where you are and what you're doing. But if you had a good VR headset like I've already got, like if you had one that tracks effectively, was plugged into Xbox or whatever, and you wanted to use the Connect for full body tracking so that it could represent your legs and your, I don't know, your butt or whatever, then Connect would have been a very useful thing to have around. But it's not to be. Tom, whose heart is on their face? Well, mine was, because it read it sometimes. No, it went through very subtle, not detectable to the human eye, fluctuations in like color, the temperature of your face through color as the blood pumped around. So it was reading the blood flow through your face to pick up your pulse. It didn't always work. It was like not the most reliable thing, but it was still neat that it could do that. But they say they iterated on it and eventually cut out this latency. I've never used, so Connect still exists. I think it's Azure Connect these days, and I don't know how much further they've iterated on it since, but that's quite hard to get a hold of. Was it the heat camera view? So it didn't actually show you the view that it was using. It may well have been using the heat camera to pick up the fluctuations. But yeah, it did that. Read your pulse, did cool things. You could change the filter to see what it was monitoring. Yeah, it had like stereoscopic color cameras. It had the heat one, the infrared one that you're talking about, and it had like a photon depth sensor that was firing photons into your room and bouncing them off of everything, so that it could properly read depth, which is becoming an important thing in VR at the moment, where headsets are trying to do pass-through and see the environment and all that kind of thing. Yes, Connect was like useful technology. and also great for spying on people so you can effectively advertise to them and all of that kind of stuff that was suggested. Space Denizen, you can probably get a good advice on the Flat to VR Discord on... Just remembered, messing with settings in Cyberpunk with Lucas caused your image and performance to go to shit even though you're only lowering it. Might want to... So I can get reasonable performance, Space Denizen. I can get... There's lots of funny oddities around it. It's very easy to break performance, but I can get good performance with my settings cranked way up on it. It works very well. We better fight you. I mean, wasn't better in any way. So, okay. It probably didn't have the same latency issue. Maybe give you that, but it was real clumsy in what it could actually pick up. Welcome, Kratos. How you doing? What have you been playing? Episode 13 doesn't matter. Google Home is always listening to you. Your life isn't that interesting. Yeah, it is creepy how much these companies know. Starts advertising things that somebody nearby had a conversation about once. And you're like, I never expressed any interest in purchasing property up north. But my wife's friend was talking about it the other day, and now I have an advert. Curious. Didn't get any retweets. How dare anybody not retweet whatever that is? Oh, is that me? Yeah, please retweet it. Bring some people in here, because we're going to talk about everything. Spriggan, welcome as well. You picked up a 5800 X3D and a 4070 Ti. You've been trying Cyberpunk with path tracing. And I was right, it looks amazing. Until you see a fence, Spriggan. It looks really, really good. The fact that it exists is stunning. Like, that they can deliver that when path tracing elsewhere is so far behind. But it doesn't look better than the rasterized mode in all circumstances. Particularly if you see a fence, then the fence will look terrible. It's the undoing of path tracing. It cannot handle fences. But it's really, really nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a good game as well. So 13, you're going to do it now. You didn't want to leave the stream to do it. I can respect that. Kratos, you picked up a physical copy of Forspoken for $30, and you picked up Shadow Man Remake Digital for the PlayStation 5. When was Shadow Man remade? That can't be a PlayStation 5 game. That's got to be a back compat thing, right? Or did they do a... I've got Forspoken installed. In fact, Isla's made me a thumbnail to stream Forspoken. I've got it installed on the PC. And I haven't got around to it yet, but I will. Shadow Man got a remaster. It's on Steam as well. Do I want to play that though? Do I want to play Shadow Man? I've never played Shadow Man, but he sounds an awful like a character that would employ some stealth. I'm not very stealthy. I'm not. Shadow Man goes between dimensions, right? But probably to stealth. Kratos, you're also happy hearing the Gex trilogy will be made. Well, I can't get on board with that. I'm glad for the people that enjoy a bit of Gex. I've never played it. Gex sits in the weird wishes it was a mascot, but it isn't fail pile alongside Crash Bandicoot. But maybe if you like that kind of game, there's something good there. Shadow Man is an N64 game, an old school game. Yeah, I thought it was. And then when you said that you're playing the remake, that obviously leaves a long span of time and array of hardware for the remaster to have actually landed on. Yes, you're playing it on back compat, so that makes sense. Retweeted, thank you very much. Thank you. There's quite a few people here. We'll get to the main topics in a bit. More games. I like the games bit. So what else are you all playing? It was Voodoo Magic themed, Spriggan. Oh, Shadow Man was Voodoo Magic themed. Yeah, but he can surely disappear into the shadows, right? He's Shadow Man. Surely likes a little bit of stealth. So on the N64 I had GoldenEye and I had Perfect Dark. I didn't own any other games for that console. I did borrow occasionally. I would borrow like a Mario Kart and Anything else that I actually borrowed on the N64? Not a lot. I played very few because I didn't like Mario 64. And any game that looked like it. You've been playing Bramble. Surprisingly dark game. Welcome South Mole. Yeah, a lot of people have been on Bramble lately. I'm told you can get through it relatively quickly and I should give it a go at some point. No stealth. No stealth in Shadow Man. Well, that's encouraging. They should have called it something louder. Episode 13, you love the perfect dark enemies. Talking when you shit or killed them. You love the perfect dark enemies. Talking when you shit or killed them. Episode 13. I'm sure there's been... Oh, when you... Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure if you meant you loved that the enemies were talking shit when you killed them. Or what had gone wrong. But okay, shot was the correction. Welcome, Patrick. How you doing? Hope you are well and playing good games that we can talk about. It's a good typo, like... Because I know that you couldn't, like, shit in game. So... I didn't know what was going on, but now we're on the same page. I understand. Play a trailer of the Shadow Man remaster. Oh, painful discourse. You're so demanding. I'm just trying to relax and have a nice time. I didn't play my Grimlord trailer yet. Did I play Grimlord trailer? I didn't. Wait. We'll look at Shadow Man remastered. First. No, it's all people playing it. This is too hard. We're not doing Grimlord. We're going to skip straight to Shadow Man. I will stream Grimlord at some point, because that should be reasonably entertaining. You can watch me suffer. In fact, I'll make some kind of video of the suffering that I've already done. Shadow Man remastered trailer. Night Dive Studio, 2 years ago. That's recent. 2 years ago. So it's not like... It's not across the old game. Night Dive. So this is probably presumably PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC, right? It's recent enough that it could have had a native PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series version. Definitely doesn't need it when you look at that. Or is that the original? No, it's widescreen, so that's the remaster. You've been playing Dragon's Dogma this week. Patrick, I want to play Dragon's Dogma. Is it good? I've got it. Probably installed. Oh, I wonder if there's a VR mod for Dragon's Dogma. Speaking of VR mods, I said I've only played Grimlord this week. I did try Street Fighter 6 in VR. This is Shadow Man remastered. Pioneer of the climbing mechanics and the... Do you know... There's nothing that I'm seeing here that is making me want to play this. I like that his hands are immune to fire, like I'm impressed that he can climb on the fiery ledge. I like that, like on the N64, the way that he's lighting the environment with torches and stuff was probably pretty impressive at the time. And it looks better than Mario 64. More going on. So I'll grant you that. But I'm not going to go out and buy it. You'd have to tell me, add like the most epic of stories for me to go and get that. Tony is immortal. That's good. John Rocks, you play Shadow Man on the PlayStation 1. We are Legion and we are strong. Creeped you out at the time. Who says that? Who's Legion and who is strong? Looks like Dark Souls. You've been on the Dead Space remake and it looks like Dark Souls. How are you finding the Dead Space remake? That's another one. I've got the EA subscription, so I have access to the Dead Space remake. It's on the list. There are so many games on the list to play. Maybe to stream, maybe just to play. I will get to all of them. I won't. That's a lie. I'm definitely going to die before I get to all of them. Sad, but true. The antagonist says that. Okay, good. Good. So yeah, I played a little bit of Street Fighter 6 in VR. It looked like actually it would probably allow me to go online with it. It didn't seem to be fussy that I had mods on the go. So it looked like I could potentially do VR and play online, but I didn't like it very much. It's like the potential for it to be really good is so close. The way that Street Fighter 6 works in VR, it renders most of the stage. There's nothing like behind you as such, but it renders enough that you can look around and have a nice time, and the fight's going on in front of you, and it all works very well. But it does still insist on like carrying the camera a little bit in a way that I don't enjoy very much. So it just wasn't all that comfortable. And I think because Street Fighter 6 is like hard locked to 60 frames per second for competitive reasons, it didn't go very nicely into the 90 frames of my VR headset. So that's there. It's cool. It's neat that you can do it. It kind of proves that fighting games, traditional side-on fighting games, would be great in VR as well. But I'm not going to play Street Fighter 6 like that. Got to take the dog out. Back in a bit. No worries, Spriggan. Someone's buffering, somebody's not buffering. Nobody's allowed to buffer. Buffering is illegal around these parts. Remaster stuff should be good in your humble opinion. Peter, is that like, are you being mean about Shadow Man? Tony is claiming to be buff, and I have no reason not to take his word for it. Ashes to Ashes, welcome. What have you been playing? You play cloud stuff. You play everything, like platforms wise, which is good. It's the way it should be. You're old buff. Now, I know you play on everything, but what games are you playing at the moment? What have I been playing where they keep on saying assuming perfect formation? I think that's Synapse, actually. Their perfect formation isn't very good. Ultimate formation, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Enemies saying weird things. Sure, we'll get plenty of it in Starfield. Ashes to Ashes, yes, you're the one that's got like 6 level 50 characters on Diablo 4 or something, right? I'm still on Act 1 of Diablo 4, and I'm not feeling any pull to play it at the moment. Not in the same place as you with that one. I might, when Season 1 comes out, I might give Hardcore a go, or I might just leave it on the back burner until it hits Game Pass and I can play it with the missus. That might reinvigorate the game for me. Ashes to Ashes, you're loving Synapse. How long have you put into Synapse? I'm assuming that it gives you incentive to replay it after you finish. I am not on Top Chat, but thank you. 6 level 50 characters and prepped for Season 1. What are you going to do in Season 1? You've got 6 characters. What's going to be fun to roll through again? You're probably like the best person to ask which class is the most fun to play as. 2 hours into Synapse. Okay, so you've not gone through your first run yet to find out how it unfolds at that point. But you're enjoying it. I played it a couple of times. I streamed it. I did an hour-long run. But no, it was less than that because there were 2 runs there. I had one bugged run where an enemy spawned inside the ground and I couldn't do anything about it. Then I did a run that went very well and got me through to right towards the end. And I got splattered. You're going to be doing a hardcore run during Season 1. Probably a Necromancer minion build for the lols. Easy mode. That's fine. I'm probably, like, if I do Season 1 stuff, it would probably be a hardcore character as well. I've got Magical Trevor to play casual respawn mode. Every other character that I do will probably be hardcore for... Because it's funny when they die, right? It adds high stakes to the game and makes it more entertaining. Right. Let's talk topics, shall we, before we run out of time? Because, say, it's an extra short show today. Extra short show. I don't have a hard finish time, but we will get through the stuff and then finish. So before we do the ABK and the FTC and the CMA and all that kind of stuff, there were some other things this week, right? Mostly still on the Xbox side, though, because Xbox had an indie showcase that I haven't watched. Did anybody here watch the Idea Xbox showcase? I think it was hosted by IGN. And I heard good things about it. I heard people saying there's loads of cool games there. But I've done zero research. I've not looked into it. I don't know what was shown. I've got the Xbox channel up. But I want you to tell me if anybody saw it. It's worth looking at. Of the list of games there, what were the highlights? Oh no, there's a game called Stumble Guys. What the fuck? I'm going to watch the trailer for this because I'm so disgusted by it before it starts. This is Stumble Guys. It's a game called Stumble Guys. Taking zero inspiration from Fall Guys because this is Stumble Guys. They don't fall. They stumble. Should be illegal. Look at the fucking bullshit is this. How? Ah. Oh. And they've got some tie-in with Hot Wheels. For shame. Parties coming to Xbox. Developers of Stumble Wheels, Stumble Fall. I see you're trying to extend slightly beyond Fall Guys, but typically you disgust me. Make your own damn game. Fall Guys already like copied half of Roblox anyway. This is a travesty. Lawsuits incoming. Well, there can't be lawsuits. It's not Fall Guys. It's Stumble Guys. Featured in the Xbox Showcase. Literally has the same arenas and maps as Fall Guys. Does anyone play Fall Guys, by the way? I can't believe what I just seen. It looked more fun than Fall Guys. Peter, I don't like Fall Guys, so I don't disagree with you there. Fall Guys, like, I think they're onto something good with most of the concept. But, like, even what they've got, I don't feel was very well executed. It needs a shunt. You need to be able to barge people off the levels for comedy value. A risk and reward shunting system, and then Fall Guys could potentially be a good game, but yeah. Early tonight, yes, Replicant, I'm afraid so. Got to finish early, so I had to start early. Boba Fett Gaming, welcome. Thank you. You're very welcome to lurk. Listen as much as you want. Talk as much as you want, or as little as you want. I hope that work is not shit for you. Replicant, you didn't notice that I've gone live. Oh, you've missed so much. You've missed so much. You haven't missed so much. Tando, welcome, welcome, welcome. We will get to Street Fighter soon, I promise. You'd better not be practicing, because I need to have a chance. Tony, your T-Rex loves this trailer. So that means you've seen some of the trailers. What else was there? That was like I regret stumbling upon Stumble Guys. How can you have a game called Stumble Guys? Outrageous. Painful discourse. Got to finish early, and that's what he said. Wow. No comment. You fall enough in real life, so never play Fall Guys. Tom, I hope you make it back from the shop okay. Because you've made it sound more dangerous now with this regular falling over. Fell for it. Nah. Right. What's good? So I'm going to look at the entire playlist. ID at Xbox Showcase presented by IGN. Oh. So there are only 8 games there? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Stray Souls, Scarlet Deer Inn. There's only 8. Let's go through them, right? We can do that. We've done Stumble Guys, so there's only 7 because I refuse to acknowledge that Stumble Guys is a game. Fucking Stumble Guys, how rude. Here comes Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Tony, we'll get to Stray Souls. We're going to go through all because there's not that many. Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming to Game Pass. So what's that? It's Dead by Daylight, isn't it? The murderer versus survivors multiplayer game. Is it Dead by Daylight? Something like that. This one. Oh, that's gross. Like the chainsaw to the face thing was gross. Yeah. It's a game based on true events and not based on the movie. There's a tiny bit more. We can ignore it. No, we're not. We're going to see some murder. You ready? Oh, no, it's not going to show the murder. Xbox. Death by Daylight. Yeah, it's some game with a really similar name. It started playing Stumble Guys again. You can't see it. You are welcome to not see it. Stumble guys. Freaking outrageous. Why didn't someone at Xbox say, hang about? You're being dicks. We're not showing your game. Stumble guys. Right, Tony's game. Stray Souls coming up. Here we go. Here we go. You've got souls in the name. You're surely going to be a difficult game, right? It's obviously initial leaning is just horror. Which reminds me, I still need to carry on with my Resident Evil virtual reality playthroughs. There's Ghosts. Phasmophobia is coming to console soon. If that's crossplay with the PC VR version, then we can all play some Phasmophobia. Okay, we've got a composer, but we can't hear it because we've got the mystery OST playing over the top. Probably a mistake when the whole point of this trailer is that it's got a legendary composer. Nice pants, murderer. Yeah. Tony, is the music the good bit? It looks like Silent Hill. It's not foggy enough. Oh no, no, there's a fair amount of fog there. Roll and murder. Okay. So, horror game, doing horror stuff. Has clock-based puzzles. That's unfortunate. Peter Morland, you don't like horror games? Like, absolutely because you're scared of them, or because they are inherently stealthy and clunky? Because I went a long time not playing horror games at all. I played like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil Code Veronica and things like that. I played the Silent Hill games when they were fresh, like a little bit. But then I went many, many years not touching horror games because it just wasn't my kind of thing. Because I don't like stealth games, and all horror games have an element of stealth. It's just part and parcel of them being like tense and scary. But then I started streaming and watching somebody else playing games with jump scares and things is a bit entertaining. So I did that for the people and started playing quite a lot of horror games. Horror games in VR though. I will get through Resident Evil 7, but it's like the thought of it is not enticing. Not enticing at all. Not just because Resident Evil games have terrible puzzles. Gonna say this wrong, Guero Shelley. My thoughts on Into the Radius. I wish I could tell you. I so nearly played that today. It's so for those that don't know, Into the Radius is a VR only like survival horror game. Which is supposed to be good. But I have not played it, and it's on my list to play so soon because I think it'll work really well with my treadmill and all the rest of it. It's a very moddable game. I know that people like to tweak and change the original experience, but if you ask me next week, hopefully I will have given it a go. Patrick, not horror, but new. Exoprimal. Yeah, I think Exoprimal's definitely out like tonight or tomorrow, over the next couple of days. Can't say I'm super interested, but it's on Game Pass. It's got some co-op, so I guess it might make sense. Maybe we should play some of that on Sunday. Could be entertaining to do a little community thing. I think you can get 6 people on a team, 5 or 6. So maybe there'll be some Exoprimal on Sunday, but don't take my word for it. How's the treadmill? Replicant, it has been an endeavor. It's been tricky, but now, as of yesterday, it seems to be pretty much perfect. Space Denizen, you didn't care about horror until VR. That's because you're brave. And VR is only truly scary when it's in VR. I can understand if you're too brave for pancake horror games. But yeah, like even regular games are pretty scary in VR. Speaking of horror games in VR, one of the like scariest scenarios, I think, is Deep Water Oceans. The scariest like pancake game that I've ever played was definitely Echo the Dolphin on the Sega Mega Drive. I got Subnautica ready to play in VR. So there's Subnautica's had a VR mode, like an official VR mode for a long time, but it was janky controls. Modders have got full 6 degrees of freedom motion controller, proper VR, ready for Subnautica. I will shit myself doing that. Because, like I say, Echo the Dolphin Sega Mega Drive Pancake is the scariest game that I've played in that environment. So, going deep water in VR. I will do it for you. Not for me, for you. Replicant, you couldn't do Resident Evil 7 in PSVR because it's scary or because it made you sick or because you didn't have PSVR? I am not very far into it. And it gives me a hard time. Like, it's going to be difficult to press forwards. My problems with Resident Evil 7, though, are like twofold. Resident Evil games, yes, it's tense. It's full of jump scares. Like, everywhere I'm going is a little bit draining because you're on high alert the whole time. But also, more importantly, Resident Evil games have shit puzzles. I hate the format of puzzle in a Resident Evil game. Because they're just like nonsense, complete nonsense. Just interact with things and see what works with what. Why is putting a pendulum on a clock revealing a part of a bloody three-headed dog puzzle? Who built this house and what the hell were they thinking? This is stupid and it frustrates me. Like, it's just like, why are the puzzles like this? Resident Evil puzzles, complete nonsense. It's just a case of going everywhere and interacting with everything. I don't want to. Episode 13, I sound like the seagull from Watership Down that Island. I was good, because if you were saying I sounded like a seagull, I probably would have had to end the stream. That would have been fairly hurtful. Subnautica is 10 out of 10 VR. Space Citizen, I'm gonna shit myself. That's minus 8 points, so it's 2 out of 10 VR, which still makes it very good. Tony, Audi's headset, hands down, best wireless headset you've ever bought. All capital letters. You've been using them phone, PC, and Xbox. No issues at all. Not a single disconnect of audio. And are they like comfortable and good audio, Tony? Should I get one of the new sparkly purple ones or whatever they were? So I'm watching Sonic drown on water levels used to scare you, made you not want to drown. Yeah, so even Sonic, like waiting, hoping to get one of those bubbles, and then you see one and you miss it, and the music's like so tense as it builds up, and then blah, down he goes. Water is a scary thing for gaming. The puzzle is where you complete the Resident Evil game. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's so clip friendly playing a horror game in VR as well, because stuff just happens that's awful. So it's useful. I've recruited, or not recruited, she's volunteered. My wife is doing quite a lot of clips of my content at the moment and sticking them on Instagram and TikTok to try and help me become like world famous and all the rest of it. So things that are very clippable are very like worth my time. You got them on your TikTok feed. Yes, I am a TikTok creator. I don't do any of the creation myself, but it is there. And some of it will go onto YouTube Shorts as well, but please don't be too perturbed and bothered by them. What else have we got? Let's do the next Xbox trailer before the evening runs out. Scarlet Deer Inn Xbox announcement trailer. You ready for this? Scarlet Deer Inn. It's a name that says very little. It looks kind of Pentiment-y, but not. Pre-alpha, not final quality. Run past the child. Are you feeling better now, Miss Elise? Okay. It's one of these. I don't mean to disrespect their efforts, but I haven't played Pentiment yet, so this is surely lower on the list, even though you can pet the swans and the cows. And talk to a tree. Toenails are clippable. That is a very good point. Painful discourse. Clippable things, that's what we need. Replicant, there's a bit in Resident Evil Village that would give you a cardiac if played in VR. Yes, I will get there. So I have Resident Evil Village on the PlayStation, so I can play the official PSVR 2 version of it. I could also delve into the PC mods so that I can do it on the treadmill. And I haven't quite decided which one to go for there. Probably the treadmill, to be honest. I like the treadmill. And it was expensive. Did I just say Pentiment T? No, I didn't. You misheard. You misheard. It's fair to say that this is Pentiment T, right? Tony, you left a hole on your toenail. Hopefully it grows back. Okay, cool. We've turned into toenail content. Scarlet Deer Inn. Weird name for a game. Doesn't tell you very much about it. But there was a trailer. Yeah, you clip all them nails. Go for it. Don't stop. Next trailer. We're whizzing through this indie thing, and then we'll do the ABK, FTC, CMA, YMCA kind of bullshit, and then it's time for bed. Oh, Myth Force. That sounds more interesting. You ready for this? It's a game called Myth Force. It's a fairly generic title, but it's got Dungeons and Dragons classes, but it's a cartoon. Animated like a proper 80s Thundercats He-Man kind of adventure. At least the cutscenes are. Very nice, very nice. And then show me the game. It says in-game animation, but I'm not after in-game animation. I want to see what the game is. I'm going to go with side-scrolling. Oh, no, it's first person. Oh, that's kind of cool. I will play it in VR. No, I will play. I like that. It looked interesting. Aspir and Beamdog. Okay, that's the highlight of the Xbox Indie Showcase for me so far. But there's more to go. Have you, good people that are here right now live, actually seen these? Did you watch the Indie Showcase, or is this like fresh content for you? Tony. So Tom, never sniff your toenail clippers. Wasn't planning to. Thank you for the advice. And your nuts, I'm assuming, is Tony's follow-on to that. So never sniff your nuts. Also wasn't planning to. Good. This is all fresh, good. So we'll keep going through these trailers as quick as just wash the. Okay, I'm going to keep watching the trailers. You carry on with your weird conversation. I invited you to chat amongst yourselves, so carry on. I don't have to engage with the toenail bit, right? Different breed of space game. How dare you be a space game that doesn't support virtual reality, or does it? This is the trailer from the Xbox show, so obviously in this instance it doesn't. This looks very nice. See, the difficulty with space games is that space is boring, actually. Like, in terms of exploration, it's big and it's open and there's not much going on. So you have to go places. And this game is going places. It looks like really nice. There's always multiplayer games develop like level design to a fine art. It's all very well considered, like where the lines of sight are, where the choke points are, and all this kind of stuff. And you take it into like a space setting, and none of the usual rules apply because everything is open and everyone can move everywhere. So it's actually quite difficult to make space games fun in a competitive environment because you can see everything and go everywhere. Who has played a good multiplayer dogfighting game? Is it not Chorus 2? No, it's not. It is a sequel to Everspace, presumably. It's called Everspace 2, so I'm assuming there was an Everspace 1. It does say that it's Unreal Engine, which means I will be able to play it in virtual reality. Ha 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 ha. Tony, did I finish Final Fantasy VII Remake? You're at the part where you drop from the sky. You've been playing for the last 2 weeks. I did finish Final Fantasy Remake. I really, 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 really liked Final Fantasy Remake. I don't like quite strong disdain for part of the delivery mechanism. This isn't spoilers, by the way. It's quite safe to say. Final Fantasy VII was obviously a singular game across multiple discs that you could play from start to finish. And as such, everything that you were doing at the start of it, like disc 1 to disc 2 to disc 3, all carried over. Your progression carried over, your characters leveled up, your skills that you were choosing, your materia that you equipped. They were there for the game until you replaced them. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I don't mind that they're releasing it in parts. I don't mind that there's going to be 3 parts to it. Like, yeah, games are bigger now. It makes sense budget-wise to split this one up. And Final Fantasy VII Remake was, like, it stands up as a game. It's big enough to be worth, like, oh well, next to its contemporaries. It stands up. It's as big as other games that you can get today, right? But they've not done any of this. Like, it's not set up so that you can carry your save file into Rebirth when it comes out later this year or whenever it is next year, probably next year at this point. It feels quite like the story is still open for part 2, but mechanically it's quite finite. You get to the end and it's like, now you've got a chapter select and you can go and do these weird things. I didn't want that. I wanted it to tell me, like, save your file and don't delete it because you're going to need this when the next part comes out. So that eventually, when all 3 parts were out, it was effectively one really big game. Is this a gaming channel? Damn straight, Boba Fett. That's why there's not been so much ABK talk. Games is more interesting than US court cases, but we will get to it. We will get to the ABK talk in a bit. It's on the thumbnail, so we have to, right? Basically what Mass Effect did, yeah, it's pretty much. Except, like, in Mass Effect's case, Mass Effect 1 didn't necessarily, like, they couldn't have made it under the assumption that 2 and 3 would definitely get made because it was all dependent on it being successful and all the rest of it. Final Fantasy VII, like, the complete game, they already knew and had it planned out. There was no way they were stopping it at this point, so they could have left it properly ready to carry on without worrying so much about, like, onboarding new players halfway through or whatever. So it could have gone like Mass Effect did, but stronger. Could have really gone all in on that idea, and it didn't. So that's not to say, like, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of the only games that I will, like, single player games that I will try and play as soon as it comes out. Unless it's Candy Crush strategies. I've got the perfect strategy for Candy Crush, Patrick. Don't play it. You're welcome. You're welcome. How did I get onto Final Fantasy? You tricked me. So we've just watched Myth Force. Myth Force looks way cool. No, we've just watched Everspace 2, but Myth Force still looks way cool. Everspace 2 looked really nice as well. Next we've got Hellboy Web of Word gameplay trailer. So this presumably, I'm going to bring up the sound for this one. I probably should have done it on some of the others. Can't hear it. Where are you, Hellboy? Because the initial trailers.
No, but I get that a lot.
Yeah. Voice of a ghost, sad times.
Come to claim me and break the contract.
I just want
Hellboy
to
looks
stop
bad.
this place from breaking my place.
And I say,
Oh, you can't see it. You can only hear it. My bad. Let's go back to the beginning. I'm a terrible, terrible presenter slash host, podcaster, YouTube person, you know.
art thou the devil come to renege on his bargain?
No, but I get that a lot.
Doesn't look terrible, Tony.
Perhaps thou art deaf. Come to claim me and break the contract.
I just want to stop this place from breaking my place.
And I say,
I might have been wrong about the voice. It sounds wrong now.
Thou shalt go no further.
Episode 13.
Brother, have it your way.
I can't help it. Mistakes were made. Could be worse. So that was Hellblade, was it? What is the Exoprimal release date? Is it this weekend? Someone confirm. Wait, I've still got noises. Shut up, YouTube. Someone confirm. I'm going to confirm. Shall I open the Xbox app? Look, if you get buffering now, it's because the Xbox app decided to start downloading Exoprimal or updates because I've opened it. One moment, one moment. Recently added, not there. Trending now, not there. Exoprimal, 14th of July. So that is tomorrow. It's presumably available at midnight. But it just says 14th of July at the moment on the PC Game Pass app. Dial up internet. Almost, Tony. My internet, I'll have you know, is the best internet in my entire village. Yeah. One day, in the next 2 or 3 years, I'll get really good internet. And then I'll be like, so much 4K. So much 4K. But not like me. Wordless? Painful discourse? What do you mean? Okay, next game. So Hellboy trailer. I don't mind its cel-shaded look. Not sold on its gameplay yet. There's only one more to go, and it's called Monolith. And some other stuff there. Here we go. I don't like this one. I've got rid of the OST, so let's have some trailer sound. What village am I in? I will not dox myself.
Since the time before written history. Its origin, a mystery.
You want me to find a trailer for a game called Wordless?
Unrivaled.
So,
1,000 years after a mass extinction ravaged civilization, the world of Q&Asa is in peril once again.
oh no, the world of Q&Asa is in peril.
From a forgotten time, come to claim that power. But hope is not lost. A hero will rise and take arms against the...
That's enough of the story. So, this one isn't high on my list. Might be okay. I'm assuming it's going to come to Game Pass. People can try it, but it's not doing enough to hold my attention, I guess. Peter, you're going to give it a try? Good. Wordless was in the Xbox show, so it doesn't... they don't list it as being one of the 8 that was in the show, but I will find it. I feel like mean for saying that I'm not interested in this game. Every now and again it looks really nice. It's just that there are so many things to play that it needs to do a little bit more to stand out for me, I think. So, that's that one. Patrick, you own 17 shares of Activision Blizzard King. You are so wealthy now. What price were they when you bought them? And how long ago are we talking? Replicant, you just don't have time for all of these indies, but indies can be so cool. It's one of the things that I like about the VR scene at the moment. It desperately needs more AAA games for sure. But the indie scene is neat. It's fun seeing developers just make things because they want to, experimenting because they have a passion for it, rather than sticking to the formula that they know works. So it's a bit cliche to say like, oh, all of the unique stuff is in the indie space. It's not strictly true. You get creative people making AAA games and you get some brilliant stuff there. But I want to spend lots of time with indies, but you're right. There's no time for everything. There are so many games to play. I'm still playing Horizon Forbidden West that came out in February last year. It's so difficult. And then bloody Baldur's Gate 3 is going to come out on the same day as Starfield. And between those two games, I probably won't even finish both of those before I die. That's 2 games coming out on one day. They're going to last forever. You paid $71 for them. When was that, Patrick? How long ago? Replicant, you need to finish Horizon still. Which one? Forbidden West or different one? Whereas Shelley, you finally beat Horizon 1 this year. You've had it since release. Yeah, they're long games. They're so good, but so long. Horizon's another one that you can play on a Luke Ross mod. So we were talking earlier about Luke Ross mods, and if I could get that to work first person with the treadmill, I would accept using a controller to play it like that. Yeah, I might look into it. Comes out August the 1st on the PC. Oh, is it just the PlayStation one that comes out on September 6th? That's interesting. I'm still not going to play it on August the 1st. That game has like 174 hours of cutscenes, and you won't see all of those cutscenes on one playthrough. But you'll see a lot. It's going to be a long game. I've not finished Divinity Original Sin 2 yet. I got about 50 hours into that one. But I really like the Divinity Original Sin games. And Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, it's a sequel to Baldur's Gate 2, but I've never played those. To me, it's a pseudo-sequel to Divinity Original Sin. What do I think about Super Mario RPG? I don't care for it, Tony. I don't care for it. You know this. So, Mario as a character isn't a character. Mario's universe is not interesting. Any story told within Mario's universe is not interesting. RPGs live and die by a story. Like, mechanically, I can get into turn-based RPG. Some of my favorites use that structure of battle, but you don't play the game for the sake of those battles. You play them for the story and progression. So Super Mario RPG? No, thank you. You can roleplay a plumber. Think about all those pipes you could be fondling. Honestly, Tom, that's not a thing that I've ever particularly wanted to do. So, no Super Mario RPG for me. Peep, yes, welcome. Again, hello. Not welcome, you've been here the whole time. But I have not forgotten that you're there. Patrick, you bought 10 right when the deal was announced and 7 more when the shares went down when the FTC announced that they were blocking. Cool. Let's get this wordless trailer and then we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the forbidden stuff that everyone's talking about. Wordless, official game trailer from the Mix Showcase. Okay, here comes a game called Wordless. The OST is annoying, so let's have trailer sound. I've seen this before. Ooh, so there's colors and there's lights and sparkles and little tinky tink sounds as you run along. You can nip and climb. It's going to be a Metroidvania. You can go sperm mode. Oh no. No, maybe. Don't know what's happening. Splosh. Okay, more lights. Bow and arrow combat. Pow. Made by people with more taste than me. There's some nice colors and flashes. I can't say much else about it. Don't stab it. Did you know Oxenfree 2 is out now? That's a true story. I played the whole of Oxenfree on stream and the second one snuck out. Some secrets need to stay secret. Wait. Oh, I see. Peter wants a documentary about the workings of Tony's head. Yeah. Stare into the abyss, Peter. What's this crap, Baz? It was lights and colors. It wasn't necessarily crap. It's got a free demo on Steam already. Again, probably not high on my list. Like, I respect what they're doing, but time... There is so little of it. And it's going to be Metroidvania, which I don't, it's not, that's not a term of endearment when I say it. Anyway, a $1 game. No game should be $1. Apart from... I don't know. If it was going to like... If they could sell a whole shitload for that amount, fair enough. People making games, like, it takes a lot of time and energy, right? So, stream IT for you and Tony. What, Oxenfree 2? I do not have time to stream Oxenfree 2. Maybe one day, but when is there time for anything? Nobody has time for anything. How do any of you play games? Why is this a thing? Or why isn't it everything? There should be so much more time for getting through all of these things. Just watch any serial killer documentary and you're probably pretty close. Well, no, I think Tony's pretty unique. Pretty unique. Which you can take as a compliment if you want. But that's not necessarily how it's intended. Let's talk about the thing. Get the OST back first of all. No one's identified the OST yet. So we're going to talk about Activision Blizzard King, the FTC, Microsoft, Xbox, the CMA, all of these other things. Some people have asked why I haven't already had anything to say about this when it's been like the big news for the last few days. Was it Tuesday that the decision came through? Maybe even Monday, I don't know. Why am I so apathetic? What I've done though is I thought I'd go maximum effort, and I've put together a special presentation to show you all of the Activision Blizzard King games that I'm currently looking forward to. For anyone wondering, like, my level of interest. Here it is. You ready for this? There you go. Actually, delete. This is all of the Activision Blizzard King games that I am currently excited about, looking forwards to. Can't wait to play. Yep. So this is why I'm apathetic. Because I don't like... If I'm being generous, I know that Blizzard are currently working on a survival game that might end up good. Well, I don't have faith in Blizzard to make good things, so I don't know. That's a wait and see. No World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, like, is sinister, malicious, horrible. I know you play it, Replicant, but I can't bring myself to. Like, last week it was on offer. It might still be on offer. I think it might be on offer until maybe the 17th of this month to get the Dragonflight expansion. Just getting that email is like, you can get the expansion on sale. Then you still have to subscribe, of course. And then you can also get like services and character level boosts for sale and all of this other shit, and cosmetics and mounts and pets. And it's just like, what is this company? How can this level of greed not get people to vomit all over their keyboard? How are people okay with this? I'm not okay with it. I struggle with it. So World of Warcraft as a game, I said last week, of all of the developers out there, in my lifetime I've spent more time playing Blizzard games than any other studio. Between Warcraft 3, which I still love. I'll play Warcraft 3. I'm excited to go back and play that, but it's not really, like, this acquisition doesn't have any bearing on that. I spent a lot of time on World of Warcraft, particularly during Wrath of the Lich King, but several expansions afterwards as well. A lot of time on Warcraft 3. I used to play that 2v2 multiplayer for hours at a time. It's great fun. I've spent a lot of time on Diablo 3. I played a fair amount of Warcraft 2. I actually played Warcraft 2 on the Sega Saturn. That was my introduction to the series. So console RTS there, but I played a lot of Blizzard games for a very long time, and I want to be excited about what they're doing going forwards. But I look at World of Warcraft and it makes it hard for me to be excited. And then Diablo 4 came out, and I know Ashes to Ashes is loving it, but I'm not loving it. I want to. I'm going to play it more, but I just can't see exciting things in the future. Bone, Xylophone, Cat, Sleepy Kitty, Raymond Origins. Are you trying to guess the OST? Because you haven't got it. I see. Okay. Okay. What else is there? Call of Duty, Activision. I haven't played Call of Duty since Call of Duty 2 at the launch of the Xbox 360. That's, again, not strictly true. I've done like a single game of Warzone, a single game of one of the multiplayers that came out. I touched very briefly. I've always had like an almost interest in blasting through the campaigns. So when the campaigns land on Game Pass, maybe I'll try them, but I don't care. I don't care about Call of Duty. Bad game to me. Can't do the multiplayer. People wear camouflage, it's too difficult. Can't figure out who they are. So I don't care about Call of Duty, and I don't trust Blizzard anymore. Can't stand Crash Bandicoot. Completely indifferent to Spyro. I'd like to see new prototype games, but there's nothing to say that we're going to. What else do Activision Blizzard King have? Candy Crush. Nope, you're all right. Tony, it's Donkey Kong. The music is not Donkey Kong. It is cartoony. Sound is not Cuphead. Modern Warfare 2 campaign. I might at some point. And take it or leave it, right? So that's one of the reasons that, like, this news dropping, I haven't been very vocal about it because I don't very much care. Now, I've said that for 18 months now and it is still true, but we will talk about it a bit. I get that it is like ramifications through the industry are significant. It is a big event. It's just a big event that's been very, very drawn out to the point that it's hard to be interested. So what happened this week? The FTC went for their preliminary injunction attempt through court in America. It was all a big clown show, and it got rejected, denied in strong terms. They got reprimanded, or they got told that their reliance on testimony from Sony and Jim Ryan was not very persuasive at all, and that the preliminary injunction isn't going to be granted. And that's fair enough. We could all see that coming because, like I said on Go Live a couple of weeks ago, everything that we were seeing of the court case, and I hadn't been watching it closely, I'd just been getting like clips and highlights. Everything there suggested that the FTC were putting forward was a really weak case. Replicant, the FTC have appealed now. Yes, they have. That's not going to go anywhere though, right? So the verdict from the judge was fairly decisive in that Judge Corley, I think her name was, she gave, like, acknowledged every argument that the FTC were making, gave them the benefit of the doubt on everything like that was weak or hard to justify, like the FTC wanted to ignore Nintendo in all proceedings, and the judge was like, that's kind of silly, but okay, I'm going to let you have it. And the reason for that, the reason that she's like accepting all of these weak arguments and things, is to like reduce any grounds for appeal, because she's saying, oh, I've considered like everything you could possibly want, and your case is still terrible, so go away. The appeal is very unlikely to go through anyway. It's funny because I reckon there are cases that you could make, and I don't argue these because I don't want the deal to go through. That's not it at all. I don't care if the deal goes through. But if the FTC had angled it, like even just looking across the rest of the world at what had been rejected elsewhere and what carried anyway. Yes, the cloud carries more weight. If you start talking about like Azure PlayFab and DirectX and Windows and all of these things that Microsoft control, and you start angling the argument towards like competition in those areas, those you could put forwards a reasonable argument. You could even, this is my favorite one, you could put through a reasonable argument centered around the virtual reality market. As like nascent markets go, you've got 20 odd million people there, a market that would desperately love to have Call of Duty and virtual reality like it did on the PlayStation VR 1. You could definitely paint a picture of Microsoft being harmful to the virtual reality market, because they have been. you just can't paint a picture that it's harmful to Sony PlayStation, which is what the FTC tried to do, because it's clearly not an issue there. So they got slapped out of court. Fair enough. They're appealing it, but they're going to get slapped out of court again because they don't know what they're doing. And I think in the appeals case, I don't think they can appeal. They can't like change the grounds of their argument. They just have to try and undermine the judge's verdict. Like prove that something was unfair or not right about the way that the case was carried out. They're not going to succeed there. They're going to fail. The CMA have obviously responded to the whole situation. So the CMA had an outstanding. They rejected the deal. Said no, it's not happening. It's going to be illegal if you attempt to merge in any way whatsoever, and we're not going to accept any kind of like remedies. You can't unilaterally decide to ignore the UK or anything along those lines to get this through the legal system. Not going to happen. But as soon as the FTC said, like, as soon as the court rejected the FTC and gave Microsoft that like power to close apart from the UK, they said, actually, we're willing to talk again, essentially. We're not going to accept behavioural remedies. We're not going to let you illegally close, but we're willing to talk again. We'll try and get this through. Very, very likely to me that this will all be done by next week. I know that the CMA have said, like, they're still following their process. They're still saying, like, we might need to do a new probe. After we've talked about restructuring the deal in a way that we're happy with, we might still need to investigate and make sure that it satisfies all of our concerns. They're going to say yes in the next week, right? The FTC are going to appeal, but their appeal doesn't stop the deal going through. So it'll all be closed by Thursday next week, I think. Painful Discourse. Where did it go? Where's it go? Your message is gone just as I was about to read it. Not MS not participating in the VR market is harmful by not supporting it, but it's not at all anti-competitive. Well, Painful Discourse, it is anti-competitive. Well, it's not so much like it's not good for the consumer that they buy studios that make VR games, because like they make the VR space worse for the consumer, right? Because Ninja Theory supported VR, Bethesda and ZeniMax supported VR, In Exile supported VR, someone else as well. They've got plenty of studios that supported VR. And Activision supported VR. So they're essentially like removing a significant publisher from a nascent market. Isn't it foreclosure? A suffocation. I think you could build a stronger case than you could over the console space. Because you can't like pull the rug out from under a market. I don't know. I'm not saying that this is a winning case. I'm just saying that you could build a stronger case around this than anything that the FTC actually put forwards. Yeah, I think it'll be done in a week. And I say done, like it will hopefully behind the scenes probably still have ramifications for like 5-10 years. I reckon 5 years from now, the FTC will probably still be trying to sue Microsoft. The European Commission will be launching an investigation and telling Microsoft that they're not allowed to pre-install the Xbox app on Windows. Much like they're not allowed to install Teams on Windows now, and they're not allowed to... Like, they had that trouble in the past with Internet Explorer where being default on Windows is a problem. They're going to run into trouble there down the line and get told, like, no, you have to give people a choice between GeForce Now and the Xbox app or whatever else. All trivial. It will be done in a week. Did the FTC actually get their funding cut by 25%? You saw Khan getting roasted. I don't know. I know that she was called in front of Congress, right? And I don't understand American politics, but I think a Republican-led bench in some way there to savage her. I don't know if those are the people responsible for funding it or what they could do. My OST playlist has dialogue in it. I apologize. Is it too loud? I can turn it down. And for Discourse, you know, something in their portfolio would want to make VR. Hang on. From I know, if any of them in their portfolio would want to make VR for PC, they can. The problem is there was not a lot of successful market in that space. PC VR is still in Microsoft's ballpark. I don't think they can, Painful Discourse. I think, like, there's no way that Turn 10 don't want to do VR in Forza. Like, somebody at Turn 10 would do that as a hobby for fun and make it work. Teams is awesome. You work in IT. Teams, like, I don't care about Teams, but I think the reason that I mentioned Teams is that I think Slack brought an anti-competitive case through Europe, and Microsoft have been told that they're not allowed Teams on Windows anymore. Like, Teams can still work with Windows, but they're not allowed to have it as part of the default build. I expect the same thing to happen with the Xbox app as soon as anybody wants to challenge it. Like, Steam probably don't have much appetite to challenge it, but they could. Epic probably will challenge it at some point because they like to. A small divestment was mentioned as far as the CMA was concerned. What do I think that MS could sell to make the deal fit for the UK? John Rocks, I think it's going to be something really trivial. I think it is just like for show. So there will be something that they have to divest, but I think it is just for show. It won't be anything that hurts or makes a difference. I don't think it's going to affect service in the UK or anything like that. So some people were speculating that maybe you won't get cloud in the UK or something, but it won't be anything. It won't be anything that we feel as consumers, I don't think. Wasn't that about Teams integrated in Office? Oh, maybe Painful Discourse, but generally, like, concept being that Microsoft integrating things where they do have monopolies and strangleholds, that's where they get challenged a lot. So obviously they have in the PC space massive stranglehold with Windows. Anything that they pre-install with Windows is subject to challenge. It's not a big deal. They'll just probably get told to take it off at some point in the next 5 years. And then we'll just reinstall it anyway. But it's just useful. Slack is good. You use PXE boot, so Teams is always there. But it's a good point. It's not even. It's an insignificant point. I just think there'll probably be small things that they have to deal with for a while yet. Regulators aren't just going to forget that this happened, but it is going to happen. I think before. I don't think. I think the CMA will get out of the way before the deadline, which is I think the 18th. Is it? Everything will be like path cleared, ready, so that the deal can close without any renegotiations going on. That's. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but that's what I think is happening at the moment. So, what do we want? I've shown you my list of Activision Blizzard King games that I'm looking forward to, but obviously when this deal goes through, you can look back through the back catalogue as well for more immediate benefits. What are people looking forwards to? What do you want to see coming to Game Pass from the Blizzard catalogue? There's obviously a big open question on Diablo 4 and how quick that one's allowed to come to Game Pass. And that's like an obvious choice. Lots of people want that. Isla, you already own Spyro. You own every guise of Spyro. Are you saying that you'd like to see new Spyro games made? Replicant, you think everything will be done on Monday if ABK is being pulled from their stack now, no longer able to trade? Yeah, I think very, very imminent will be done. Like that kind of time frame. Sathmar, you want a new prototype? Yeah, prototype sounds more... Prototype is quite an enticing game for us. It's not Rayman Legends. It's not a Rayman game at all. I'm very sure that it's not Rayman. And I wouldn't lie to you. I think, so Sekiro is the one that stands out. I don't know for sure how the licensing of that one works, like if anybody else has a say in it, but it's an Activision game, and I've been waiting for Sekiro to appear on Game Pass. The entirety of, like, the last decade of Call of Duty games, maybe I'd look at the campaigns at some point, but... Replicant yourself is one of the deals to remove Activision's influence over Blizzard. This is the big question for me as well. I look at... Like, I very much blame Activision. Like, Activision's acquisition of Blizzard has been the worst thing ever. Not that's over dramatic, but it's I would very much like to see Blizzard free of that. The problem is Activision's influence on Blizzard has made Blizzard way more profitable. Like Activision, much as I dislike an awful lot about Activision's business practices, they are very, very effective, which is why they're worth 70 billion. I'm not sure that I can see a scenario where Mike Ybarra, whoever's in charge of Blizzard, goes into a meeting with Phil Spencer, shows the monetization that they've got planned for their new survival game, or how they're monetizing World of Warcraft, or how they're monetizing Diablo 4, and Phil says that they'd like to tone down some elements of that. They'd like to improve that situation. So it's what I want. I want Blizzard to be able to make cool Blizzard games without that malignant monetization that they've all had lately, without that nasty Activision touch. But I'm not sure that that's the future that we get, because it's very difficult to go into any business and say, actually, let's make less money. From owns the Sekiro IP, and ABK has the publishing rights. So Painful Discourse, that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't come to Game Pass, right? Publishing rights matter in that scenario. So this is what I mean when I say I don't know for sure that it can. But 505 were able to put Death Stranding onto PC Game Pass. So it does depend, like, contracts get murky in that sense. So ABK might be able to put it there. Or there might be something like Sony obviously have in the contract that Sony have with 505 for Death Stranding. They obviously specifically say you're not allowed to release this on Xbox, and neglected to mention PC Game Pass. So Microsoft and 505 worked out a deal to get it on there. I get what you're saying. I hope the Sekiro goes on it. I suspect that it can, at least on the PC side of things. I don't think From would have anti-Xbox clauses in their contracts. Anti-subscription service clauses. It's not impossible, but I'd be surprised. Wayne, do I think that the old Spider-Man games will be on Xbox again? No, you can't buy them, can you? If they've been delisted from the store, then they can't make them available in some other way. So no, I'm afraid not. If you want your Spider-Man, you need to go PlayStation or PC for the new ones, or have them in your back catalogue. Don't know if you can still pick up Spider-Man keys anywhere. Digital versions. Anything else? Activision. Nobody likes anything from Activision. Nobody likes anything. Blizzard are the treasure there, aren't they? We all like Diablo and Warcraft and StarCraft. Isla, did you answer the question on Spyro? Do you want a new Spyro? You think it'll be funny. So Xbox doesn't need Activision Spider-Man games, because they've already got Spider-Human, right? Let me find. There's no point in like wanting for something that you've already got. Meow. Where are you, Spider-Human? No, not there, not there. Okay, you ready? If you haven't... Oh, what have I done? I pressed the wrong thing. If you haven't already seen... If you don't already have this, you're missing out. Xbox already has Spider-Man. Or does it? I would put the wrong thing up. On the Xbox store, Spider-Human with the Spider-Man artwork, Spider-Human shooter. Wayne, tell me this isn't everything that you need.
What's the matter, hero?
Oh no, there's voices on the OST. The OST can go away for a minute, because that's going to give away what the game is. Why are you asking for a Spider-Man game when you've already got Spider-Human shooter and Spider-Human whatever the other one was? And yeah, they might still be available in the store. Pick them up now. Don't actually pick them up now, please. I did manage to get a full refund on both of these delightful games. They are real. Let's see if my music is back. What's got updated servers? Guitar Hero. Oh, Guitar Hero is an Activision property that matters. Again, I imagine the licensing there is very complicated, because most of the music licenses have probably expired by now. Tom, you don't care if they carry on structuring the studios like Activision did, just so long as the employees get a better deal working for Xbox. Let's face it, like at least a couple of thousand of them are going to be made redundant within the next 2 years. So maybe the remaining ones will get a better deal, but a bunch of them are going to not be there anymore. That's inevitable with any merger. Yeah, Microsoft have kind of said they're not going to change much of what Activision Blizzard do operationally, and that's probably true. Like, Activision Blizzard King is much bigger than Xbox Game Studios already, like much bigger. So it's going to be quite hard for them to integrate these new studios and impose like Xbox culture onto them when they're so much bigger. You want Singularity 2? There's like a lot of more obscure IP. Activision have been around for a long time. Vivendi, Activision, Blizzard and King IPs between them. Anybody else they might have acquired along the way that I don't know about? The old COD game servers have been updated, you saw somewhere. Is that right? I remember, so Call of Duty Ghosts at the launch of the Xbox One was the last one, I think the last one that had Xbox marketing. And it performed like shit because the Xbox One was a bad console. So you had like a 720p version of the game. But the Xbox version, and only the Xbox version, had servers for its multiplayer. So, like, it's a really sad thing that nobody observed the difference. Like, gaming media should have made a lot of noise about this and didn't. And the gaming public should have been made aware of this, but weren't. Because the experience of playing Call of Duty Ghosts on the Xbox versus the PlayStation was significantly different. Having servers to play on over and above a peer-to-peer connection that the PlayStation offered is something that is good for everybody, but people just weren't aware of it because they didn't play across both of them. So there was no noise made, no success and no reward. So all of that expense had zero return because the PlayStation 1 was a higher resolution. So the following many years of Call of Duty games were peer-to-peer. Destiny, peer-to-peer for its multiplayer. And this is a travesty. Yeah, people made the user base very aware of 1080p versus 900p when there really should have been a lot more talk about having servers versus not having servers. Kratos, no worries, I'm ending very soon anyway, but thank you for coming by as you do. There will be more next week. There will be more games and things as well. Oh, they're talking again. And none of you have got the OST yet, despite major signature characters having conversations in the background. So, is there anything interesting? Is there anything that I've missed or anything that you find interesting about Activision, Blizzard King, the FTC, the CMA, Xbox, all of that kind of stuff? Am I completely wrong? Is my apathy just plain silly when it's the most exciting thing in gaming ever? Are there any other parts, any other facets of the conversation that you find interesting? Is the whole industry going to get bought up and consolidated now? Is anything stoppable after a 70 billion transaction has gone through? It's still pretty dull news. Good, Tom. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm not the only one. Like, even if it's just you, if everybody else is still finding it super fascinating. I think for me, the start point of it, when it was announced, was like, wow, that's a big deal. It's not as exciting as ZeniMax, because I like more of ZeniMax's games. But a 70 billion transaction, all of this going on, it's going to shake the industry in exciting ways. Like, it's big news. We can talk about that for a bit. And then we've been talking about it for 18 months when nothing has been happening. Like, there'd be nothingness, and we'd still talk about it, and it's just killed any interest that I have. So you get to this point where we're right at the end, and like, it's not interesting. I can't help it. This is the reason that I don't talk about it. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care. My list of games that I'm anticipating from Activision Blizzard King is a real list. If you'd asked me a month ago, then Diablo 4 would have been on there. But pro-consumer, like, short term is definitely pro-consumer. Short term, it means you get games on Game Pass. Long term, unless you can hop between parallel dimensions, we're not going to know. Probably. There's like, the hypothetical is, in 10 years' time, is Call of Duty going to be better in a universe where it goes through or where it doesn't? Like, is the acquisition actually going to impact the quality of the games, the prices, the availability to consumers, and all the rest of it? It's like, we can't really call it with any certainty because it's not something we're going to see play out. Short term, you get the games on Game Pass. Long term, I'd more first party games, but that doesn't make a difference to me. Like, it sticks them on Game Pass, but first or third party, like, okay, they're games made by the same people with the same talent pool. I just want to play games, and I'm happy. I don't, like, there's this hope, and we said earlier, Replicant was saying that he wants to see the culture affect Blizzard and working conditions improve at Blizzard. It applies to Activision as well. I want to see Activision studios be less Activisioned. That would be great. And Xbox do typically give a lot of creative freedom to the studios that they've bought that are under the Xbox Game Studios umbrella. I like their approach to taking risks. I like when Phil Spencer comes out and says, like, yeah, some of our games aren't going to review well. That's part of the creative process. Like, you have to be willing to accept that, or you're not going to take any risks and create anything new. I agree. That's a good thing. And I hope that like, attitude and culture runs through Activision Blizzard King. But I don't know. It's going to take time, isn't it? And I don't know that Microsoft in 10 years' time are still going to care about the console space and the people that play games like we do, or if they're going to be chasing that, like, mobile microtransaction money. Whether the deal is good or bad is very much dependent on what direction Microsoft goes. So we'll see. John Rocks, the CMA had a problem with everything going through an MS store. You can see MS only being able to sell games through third-party stores like HBO content. Yeah, I mean, there are all of the cloud deals that they put forwards. There's legitimate concerns that, yes, you can play it on NVIDIA service if you bought it through Microsoft Store. You can play it on, like, Steam, but you still have to buy it. Like, but Microsoft's a publisher. This is all reasonable. The bigger concern on the PC side of things, for the last, and this is like cloud and PC, for the last 5 years or so, DirectX 12 hasn't been very good. And we are locking all of these games onto DirectX. So the biggest, like, opponents, obviously Google had Stadia that didn't use DirectX or any of Microsoft's family of stuff, but now, like, that doesn't have a future anymore. So everything is still going to be DirectX, and we just have to hope that it comes good. And that's a very dominant position for Microsoft. This is why I mentioned Azure PlayFab, because if you're using Microsoft's, like, DirectX to make your games because you have to, because you want it on cloud and everywhere else, then suddenly PlayFab becomes very much integrated into the future of gaming as well. So Amazon's and Google's equivalents fall by the wayside. Like, there are significant competitive areas that the FTC weren't bright enough to see. But I don't think everyone at Microsoft is evil or anything like that. Peter, to be fair, my viewpoint might be a little different because I'm probably more wedded to games than the average core gamer. The average core gamer is an interesting term. The average core gamer. So the way I see it, you can come up, like, you can divide people into, like, core gamers and casual gamers and hardcore gamers and, like, mobile gamers and all the rest of it. There's one big division that counts. You're a VR gamer or you're a casual gamer. I say that to wind people up. Might have to put a poll up about that. Ask people which one they are. Yeah, Peter, exactly. Me and everybody here that is interested in games enough to come and talk about them. We're a special group of people that this is like, I hope that Microsoft care for us forever. But this has been an ongoing impending threat for a long time because mobile gaming makes more money. All of the horrible things that we hate, free-to-play games with terrible pay-to-win microtransactions, pay to progress, wait 3 hours or pay £3 to build this thing faster. All of these mechanics make a lot of money. So it's reasonable to assume that a company like Microsoft would want to push in that direction. So that's why I'm skeptical, and that's reasonable. The other, like adverts as well, that's another thing that's been an impending threat for a long time, because adverts are like free money if they can push them into our games. I hate them. Like, adverts forced into content, I balk at that. I recognize it and it feels slimy. Gaming has somehow remained fairly clean on adverts. Like, you get product placement sometimes where it fits, but it could be a lot worse. All of these kind of things, like, time will tell. And I do think this is why I say, when I say that the likes of Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and all of them are like a bulwark protecting people with our interests, because they understand it, they're part of it, they play these games and they want these things as well. So having their voices within Microsoft is good. In 10 years' time, if Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond move on and they appoint Bobby Kotick and I don't know, some other corporate type, then we might regret this acquisition going through. Time will tell. Time will tell. For now, let's just hope that Sekiro comes to Game Pass. Adverts in games should be innocuous, like Battlefield, something, bus stops. Yeah, there's places in games, like you can play FIFA and it makes sense to have the advertising boards have real adverts on, because it makes sense. Like, it feels more real that way anyway. So there are places in games where adverts make sense. You wonder how long until Bobby K leaves. Yeah. I mean, I heard a rumor that Phil Spencer was going to step down to be replaced by Bobby Kotick. That we've all got it wrong. The personnel is not changing in the direction we expect. Bound to be a handover period, but you imagine they'll take his payout and go, he's going to take his payout, and then he might just keep getting more pay. I don't know. He's got pretty cushy if he stays, doesn't he? Playing for disc, because you have Sekiro on disc, but not having to pop it in would be cool. Yeah, the whole physical versus digital thing. I get people love to have them shiny discs, the Magpie folk, but for me, and Peter's a Magpie. Peter does it with music. He wants the shiny discs. For me, I'm not, like, in terms of gaming, it would be quite strange to call me lazy because I run around on a treadmill. But putting discs in a drive, that is too much. Can't be handling that. Stops me playing things. Yes, adverts in games, we've managed to, like, this has been a threat for the last 20 years or so. We've managed to steer clear of that. The whole of gaming hasn't gone free to play mobile model yet. I think we're okay. And even if it does, like, if Microsoft turns to shit, there'll still be games. There'll still be games. It's fine. Everything's going to be fine. And even if there's not, if Microsoft turn to shit tomorrow, if they acquire Activision Blizzard King, and then they also somehow acquire, like, Sega and Take-Two and EA and all of the other publishers, and it all gets consolidated under Microsoft, and then Microsoft say, actually, games suck. We only make spreadsheets now. I'd still be okay, because I've got too many games. I've said several times already, I'm going to die before I've played them all. So there's nothing to worry about. What can go wrong? What can go wrong? You don't think Microsoft have any underhanded intentions? I don't think... Underhanded might not be the word that I'd go for, but their intentions are obviously very centered around how to make as much money as possible. And obviously Activision's intentions are centered around how to make as much money as possible. And that's a bad example, actually, because Activision are shitheads. That's why World of Warcraft has 6 different revenue streams built in. I don't... Like, if you give Microsoft opportunities to make more money, their shareholders would expect them to take those opportunities. And that ruins everything. That ruins everything. At the same time, I think, at least, like I say, Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and that, they're aware that that would ruin everything, harm their reputation, tear apart the good things that they've already got. So we're okay for the time being. You think they're playing the long game? They are playing a long game, yes. Definitely playing, yeah, a very long game. And they're not, like, when you look at the way that Microsoft handle, like, Windows and Office and things like that, I think they do show some restraint. Like, those things aren't as evil as they could be, right? So I don't think I'm not like massively anti-Microsoft. I'm skeptical because I'm always skeptical of any big company, but yeah, things could definitely be worse. Perhaps Microsoft know how to make money from a range of audiences and give them all what they want. That's what you're hoping, at least. Hopefully. But you can see budgets shifting though, right? Like, you look at those budgets that leaked from the court case, the Horizon and Last of Us things being like $200 million and struggling to make that back. I don't know. Like, it kind of surprises me a little bit that these things still happen at all when there's so much more money to be made elsewhere. Like, they've got a finite number of people, finite operating costs that they can handle. I'm surprised that games we love still exist, and they still do, and they will still continue to. You're right. I feel reassured. I'm very pleased to say that I will definitely have even more games to play for years to come. Did I play Elden Ring on console or PC? Painful discourse. I got it on PC. Haven't finished it yet. I say yeah. Realistically, I'm not sure if I'll get back to it. Elden Ring, I possibly regret getting that one on PC because it never did perform properly. And I don't think it does still. It has these random weird slowdowns that shouldn't occur. I think the console versions in the end, after a little bit of polish, turned out pretty good. Some of your hopes aren't necessarily reality. Yeah, but like, worst case, if it does all go to shit, there's always going to be like the indie scene, for one. There's always going to be Nintendo. They're not going to adapt to anything, are they? So there'll be places to play games. Did I see the ray tracing patch difference at all? I haven't looked at it. So the ray tracing patch for Elden Ring was fairly low key. I think they just did like sun shadows or something like that, and very limited in like range. So I don't think it's a game changer for Elden Ring. I am looking forward to the ray tracing patch for Diablo. Diablo 4's got ray tracing coming, and like when I play The Ascent on PC, that's very, very tasty. Oh, I need to play more of that. The Ascent's a good game. John says to Tony, but I'm going to butt in and read it anyway. Sony's cloud streaming is an old and limited. You can't buy a game on PlayStation and cloud stream it. You can buy a PlayStation game on Steam and stream it through an NVIDIA service though. So John Rocks, they're actually trialing that at the moment. Don't know where, can't remember, but Sony are trialing letting you stream games that you've bought on the PlayStation ecosystem. So that will be a thing soon. I don't know. Like, Microsoft don't do it yet, do they? I don't know if they've done any testing or how far along they are, but hopefully, like, cloud streaming will get there eventually. The indie game scene is the only one that you have faith in being any good in 5 years. Yeah, Aaron. Old faithful indie scene will always be there. Nintendo's not going to change either. You can argue that Nintendo's like not necessarily good, but there are good things about it. I don't like the way that they keep their prices so ridiculously high for so long, but they're not going to fall into all the traps that everyone else is, right? Not to the same extent. They're at least 20, 30 years behind the industry, so. Tony, no worries. I am finishing up. I'm going to do these questions and then we're done for today. Nice positive note. Everyone's feeling like we've got forever more of good games coming out. Obviously, I've still got my VR as well. This is my real problem. Microsoft buy studios, then those studios no longer get to make VR games. That is a travesty. Someone needs to step in and stop that from happening. If Microsoft ever tried to buy Capcom, holy shit, I would be furious. They can have anybody else that's not doing VR, but they shouldn't be allowed to buy my VR studios until they're willing to give me VR. Right, here we go. First question. Now, we're going to run through these and then we are done. I'm going to put the OST back on though, so you've got a chance to get it if you can. If Xbox buys Sega, what would be my reaction? Brackets, they are going to. Says Tony Okami. I'm quite happy for Xbox to buy Sega. I had like childhood love of Sega. But Sega today, the good parts of them are mostly like the PC studios. So the Total War studio, Creative Assembly, and Relic that made the Age of Empires stuff. These are the things that Sega do well at the moment. The other thing that Sega mostly do at the moment is like butcher IPs that I used to love. So if Sega were bought by Xbox, I'd be more than content. That's a very good fit. At the moment, one of the most worrying things in the industry for me, it's not worrying is the wrong word because that's melodramatic, but Sega's project, massive world's best super game or whatever they're calling it, is just like, it's going to be awful. It's going to be awful. They're going to dance on the graves of so many of their precious IPs that I used to love as a kid. I'm going to sell them all piecemeal as microtransactions in Project Massive Super Game World, whatever it is. Sega could use some sensible guidance. Sonic and Spyro at the Commonwealth Games. Don't be silly. Sonic's fast and Spyro is a silly pink dragon thing. What would be my ultimate VR experience? I.e. Ready Player One. Yeah, don't know. See, I'm pausing because I'm trying to decide whether my ultimate VR experience would have anybody else in it or not. Sometimes, like, social stuff in VR can be awesome, but you know, people. Whereas I could do something like Starfield, I could probably live in forever. Skyrim, I can live in forever. No, I think the ultimate one would have to be shared in some way. And obviously, like, I'll be the first volunteer to get a chip put in my brain that lets me enter VR without having to put on any goggles or anything. Like proper Matrix style electrical signals to the brain that can convince you that you're moving and feeling and not smelling. Nobody should ever smell games because games always take you to like sewers and dead people. Nobody needs to smell that. But all of the other senses, yeah, stick a chip in my brain and I'm there, I'm ready for it. Not Musk's chip. No. Elon. No. No, a gaming company chip. I trust. Who do I trust to put a chip in my brain? Fuck trust. Whoever gives me good VR in the first place, they can do it. I volunteer. And I know that I've said that out loud with devices near me, so Meta are definitely listening. I've probably actually signed a contract and given away my brain just by saying this out loud. I'm on YouTube, so Google are ready. I am listed, ready to receive brain chip. You play Job Simulator VR. What? Remind me, Baz, which VR headset are you on? Oh, you've got the membership thing. When did that happen? Thank you. I see the badge and I love it. I smell dead people. Painful Discord, you would. If you're playing like games and they delivered smell in any way, many games have dead people. Many games have sweaty people. Many games have sewers. Many games have just nasty environments. So yes, it would be immersive and disgusting. What is this music? It's terrible. Peter, yes, obviously I love your badge as well. Assuming there was some message that went with that smiley face and YouTube has eaten it for you. Is what it is. Yeah, so in terms of future acquisitions, Microsoft getting Sega I think would be a good thing. Microsoft are not allowed Capcom because Capcom are a big hope for VR in that they actually put their games there. Square Enix is probably more of a fit for Sony or Nintendo just by legacy, and that would be fine. Yeah. I don't very much like Take-Two as a publisher, so they can probably go to whoever. Obviously, I like Rockstar making their like super marquee games. I like that Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption exist, but I don't think Take-Two are particularly a nice publisher. They're quite subtle with it, but so they can go wherever. Much like Activision, they can go wherever. What other ones? Obviously, there are many other publishers, but as you got the membership last week, and it's the Quest 2 that you're on. So you're playing Job Simulator on the Quest Native. I'm suddenly, after like turning my nose up at native Quest games for so long, I'm open to them now. Baz, I very much recommend that you do, if you haven't already, look into SideQuest so that you can play the ports of old PC games, the Dooms and the Quakes and things like that. Alex, do I think that Microsoft will seal the deal this Friday? I wouldn't go as specific as Friday, but before this time next week, yeah. Episode 13, the OST is Crash Bandicoot, your wife, Kerry says. Well, congratulations, Kerry. It is Crash Bandicoot. And I'm afraid to tell you that it's a terrible game. Terrible. And I haven't played it, but I don't like Crash Bandicoot. I just figured, you know, what with the ABK stuff going on, it was a fitting OST. Kind of like, I hadn't listened to it, but I figured it would probably fit the vibe of the Psychonauts background. So yes, Kerry is there. Peter, we need a thumbnail of me with a cracked VR headset for when I have to play pancake games. Yeah. That could work. I'm not actually going to crack open a VR headset and take a picture though. They're too precious. Right. Hang on. This is Isla. I want a new Spyro and old Spyro with Xbox cheese, so you could show everyone how much you love Spyro. Well, I hope that you get that. Also, that probably already exists, the old one, right? You probably just don't own it. But I would have thought if you get... I can't remember when your Spyro remastered trilogy thing came out. I would think if you had the Xbox version, it would have all of the achievements. So actually, what you're doing right now is already showing everyone that you don't actually love Spyro that much. Next question, please. Look, I know I trolled you a little bit, but you still have to put the next question up. Nope. Does anyone here like Crash Bandicoot? Does Kerry like Crash Bandicoot? Never forgiven them for having you run towards the camera. Tom, I could solve so many game puzzles with... Oh, with smell though. Imagine if the game nail clipper smell... Yeah. Peter Morland, you knew that was coming. What was Peter? I don't know what you are referring to. You never played Crash? Like it had the first Crash game had a signature level. It might have been the first level, it might not. But it's like in a canyon, running towards the camera with a boulder chasing you, smashing some crates with your stupid little spinny move, eating apples as you go, or collecting apples as you go. And it was shite. Crash Bandicoot was also, they've said as much, it was attempting to create a mascot in the vein of Sonic and Mario, which were popular back in those days. Sonic and Mario as mascots, people thought that consoles needed them, that PlayStation would need its equivalent. Xbox tried with Blinks. But no, mascots were for children and the audience grew up. So yes, Crash has always been awful. Thank you, Replicant. Kerry likes Crash though. I don't want to fight. So enjoy it. Rayman on the other hand. So I've not played any of the 3D Rayman games, but Rayman Legends was brilliant. So surprisingly good, that game. Don't know why I played it. Even Gex was better. I've not played Gex, but if you don't run towards the camera, then yes, it was a better game. Rayman Legends though, musical levels on that. Like, wow. So impressed by that. Liked it a lot. I'm hungry. No, I'm not. Food is bad. Right, here's another question. Peter Morton, on average, how many full price games do we buy per year? Question for me and the audience. Full price games. There you go. You got the question. Who buys full price games? How many? What are the criteria that a game needs to meet for you to buy it at full price? Either you buy one game a year at full price. Is that true? You get like 2 Pokemon games a year, don't you? Don't you? Replicant, you buy far too many. So, my general rule that I would adhere to if I weren't trying to do like content stuff is almost never buy a game at full price. Single player games in particular, they don't get worse over time. If anything, they get better because they patch out the problems. So I would typically, when I have bought them as well, when I've broken my own rule and bought a full priced game because of like influencer hype and like FOMO, fear of missing out, I almost always end up disappointed. Almost always like get into it and go, no, I should have waited like I normally do. They never quite live up to that. But multiplayer games are a little bit different because multiplayer games, you have to ride the wave of community. If you get them too late, then you kind of can't get them at all because you miss out on the bit where they're fun. There aren't many multiplayer games that are sold at full price, to be fair. Not anymore. Used to be, but now that model doesn't really fit. All depends if you've got a VPN as full price. Yeah, so that you can give your answer as never full price then if you're shopping around through VPNs. But how often do you go for like day one-ish or launch window for your games? Replicant always buy games at launch. See, I spend too much money on treadmills and graphics cards and try not to buy games at launch. I got Street Fighter 6 at launch, but I got it for 36 quid. Which is like, yeah, exactly. CD keys, games are really full price. It used to be a lot better, Replicant. Back in, I remember when The Witcher 3 came out and bought it for £11.50 at launch. PC prices have like slowly been pushing up towards the console level, but there's still a fair amount below, yes. Wasn't it supposed to be a 50-minute episode? Yes, it's supposed to be over. We're rushing through it now. How many games have I bought full price this year? I bought Diablo 4. And I regretted buying Diablo 4. Should have waited. What else have I bought? Oh, I probably God of War Ragnarok. That was last year, I think, but got that one full price. Probably shouldn't have. Would have been better off waiting on that one too. Would be just as good if I was playing it today, right? Maybe then I would have finished Horizon Forbidden West. Do you put you do use the Microsoft points though. Yeah, right, everything counts. Oh, Tom, the last one that you bought at launch was Elden Ring. Yes, Elden Ring I also got at launch. Still haven't finished. Was it worth it? Yes, but also would have been fine to wait. I don't mind, like Elden Ring, if you consider voting with your wallet to be a real thing, then Elden Ring gets a vote of approval because it was 50 quid, not 70 quid. So its full price was a lot more reasonable than Final Fantasy 16's full price. Yeah, but Tom, even on console, Elden Ring was only 50 quid. I say only, like 50 quid is still pushing the limits of where I want games to cost, but it's a lot more reasonable than 70 quid. John Rocks, maybe 2 full-price Pancake games and 10 to 15 in VR. Your VR backlog is shocking. My backlog across VR and Pancake games is shocking, yes. VR games don't have the AAA price point. VR games is almost entirely virtual reality. Almost entirely indie. It's an indie scene that's thriving in the VR space, which means you can go onto PlayStation Store or the Meta Store or the Steam VR section and just find loads of things for good prices. So yes, I also have a shocking backlog of virtual reality games and a shocking backlog of Pancake games. Batty didn't jump in with Elden Ring when it released. Good strength, good resolve. Yes, it was less on consoles. Well, Capcom are usually reasonable. Capcom and Bandai Namco haven't jumped onto the silly pricing. Good for them. Long may they continue. I will try and support their games where I can. Is Psychonauts 2 my background? And what region do I have the most subs on Game On Daily? Okay. So yes, Psychonauts 2 is the background. The Game On Daily YouTube channel is mostly US. So it goes US, UK, Canada, and then rest of the world, like quite a way below those. Website's a little more complicated to read, but pretty much the same thing. Next question, please. And no, I haven't played Crash Bandicoot 4, by the way. Crash is already like... Crash 4 might end up being good, but the character is on my shit list. It's been nosy, it's fine. Questions are questions. Like, if I had a problem with it, I wouldn't have answered it, so it's all good. But I do need the next one. Oh, and I do need to sleep. Early start tomorrow, early start on Sunday. You might have noticed I've been extremely tired for all of the go lives for the last 6 weeks, because I've had early starts every Saturday for the last 6 weeks. This week I've got Friday and Sunday, and then all of that comes to a close, and I might look alive again, or I might not. We shall see. Have I seen the Ratchet & Clank PC specs? Looks like a good port with additional ray tracing. Thoughts on the no SSD being needed? Replicant, I have had a little glance of the chart that they put out. The minimum, it lists minimum spec 720p 30 frames per second, needs, was it 8 gig of RAM and a mechanical drive, and then everything from there, the next one up, the recommended specs 1080p 60 frames per second, lists 16 gig of RAM and a solid state drive. The reason that this is controversial is that when Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart came out, Sony said that, or Insomniac said that it was only possible with the magical SSD in the PlayStation 5. So now, of course, a lot of people are pointing and saying, no, they lied to us and all the rest of it. It's been a weird one, because from the off, it was very like apparent that you could do that game without an SSD if you had some like compensatory amount of RAM. So the reason that it needed the SSD in the PlayStation 5 was that it can pull in assets and textures extremely quickly. So if you hit one of the crystals and travel to a different world and all the rest of it, it could pull that in the time that it takes for the effect to fly across the screen. You could do that just as easily if you loaded the alternative level or the next rift into memory beforehand. And PCs have a lot more flexibility on memory. So the question though is, those minimum specs, the minimum blah, 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 that has not much RAM and a mechanical drive, says that you can play it on like minimum specs 720p, which means that the texture quality and therefore texture size and therefore speed to read it is dramatically less so than if you crank up the settings at all. So what's going to be interesting to see is how that game handles cranking the settings up if you've got good hardware, so you exceed the minimum specs on everything apart from the drive and still stick it on a mechanical. It's like tech nerdiness. It also supports direct storage. Yes, good. It'll be interesting to, like, not interesting enough that I'm going to go and find out. Like, this is interesting in the loose sense of the word, but kind of interesting to see how the game handles those kinds of like world and rift transitions if you deliberately underfeed it. So if you stick it on a mechanical drive, or you don't have enough memory, or all the rest of it, like how it behaves when you stress those features. And then you can really find out like how important the SSD is or isn't. It's not interesting enough for me to find out. I'm not gonna I've played the game already. I'm not going to buy it again on the PC just to do these tests, but... Did Sony lie? Did Insomniac lie saying that the SSD was necessary? Lie is a strong word. They PR'd it. It was a dressed up truth. They needed the SSD to deliver it in quite the way that they were delivering it. But this is like for many console generations, you'd have games release and the developers would come out and say it's using like 100% of the console's power. And that was a stupid statement, and has always been a stupid statement. Of course you're using 100% of the resources, or you're being a donut. It's one of those things, like, the audience doesn't necessarily understand what's being said when someone comes out and says they're using 100% of the resources, 100% of a system's power. PR people come out and say anyway, like it means that their game is going to be really good. And it doesn't necessarily mean any such thing. I don't know. I could delve into what I'm trying to say there more so, because I know I haven't really been very eloquent with my point there, but I can't be asked either. It's fine. It's fine, right? We don't need to go into that. Next one. This is Replicant. If I was to put a tenner down, you'd bet that Microsoft go after Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal from Embracer. Yeah, it seems likely. So it seems likely that those studios were involved in the general relationship breakdown between Square Enix and Microsoft anyway. I think Microsoft definitely wanted those when they were looking at acquisition with Square Enix before. I think that was a very real thing that was probably moving along and doing well. And then the opportunity to acquire Activision Blizzard came along after all of the Bobby Kotick sexual harassment fallout. I do think that despite it being a massive transaction, I think that all happened very, very quickly initially. The first part of it, up to the announcement, not the 18 months following of mess, but the actual acquisition was a seized opportunity that happened very quickly and probably derailed the Square Enix acquisition. And that's where Crystal Dynamics and Eidos ended up at Embracer. I think they would be a very good fit for anyone. Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal are like brilliant studios. And Embracer are a strange holding company, so Embracer does need money. They bought them at a good price and they could surely sell them for more. I think both studios are working for Microsoft anyway. Crystal Dynamics are doing Perfect Dark, and I'm sure Eidos Montreal were working on something else. I know they've got their own projects as well. I know Crystal Dynamics are Tomb Raidering again and all the rest of it. But yeah, they would be a fit that makes sense. Tom, they marketed the console with it, much like Xbox marketed the console with full RDNA 2 features. Pinch of salt all around. Yeah, but the thing, so what I'm saying on the Ratchet and Clank thing though is the SSD, yes, you could deliver things without it, but it is also good. I said in the run up to the consoles that I think people will be surprised at how good the SSD and the Xbox Series console is as well. Like, it can also deliver the cool things that they were talking about. And it's true, they are cool. These consoles will be far worse off with mechanical drives. Far worse off with mechanical drives. Narrative for Fable? Dunno. It's got giants and stuff. Baz, thank you for coming by and all the support as always. It is much appreciated. I don't know the story for Fable. It's got giants in it, right? And fireballs. Castle Ladpaza. I'm sorry, I'm definitely getting that wrong. But any game that I would like to see remade from the PlayStation 1 era, not a common title. PlayStation 1, like Vagrant Story, could use being remade. That's not uncommon. A lot of people would cite that one, I think. I would like to see... What do I want from the PlayStation 1? I don't know. I more look... Like, Sega Saturn is the same era. I would very much like to see some of those games. Panzer Dragoon Saga, top of the list. Shining Force 3. And Shining the Holy Ark, second and third on the list. Not necessarily in that order. I'd like to see the Dragon Force games from the Saturn, and PlayStation definitely had its share as well, but I've got a complete mental block on what ones I want. What have I got in front of me? For some reason I've got 2 copies of Final Fantasy 9, 2 copies of Final Fantasy 7. I don't know why I've got 2 copies of those games. I can't quite see because they're behind a green screen. I can't see my PlayStation games collection. Power Stones, Dreamcast era, absolutely. Replicant, yes. Panzer Dragoon Saga was so good. I'm not misremembering, am I? Like, the whole story of Azul was actually a good story as well as being like very unique in its art style and setting. That was a brilliant game. Apart from the ending, like closing credit style, like, oh, good job, player, now press the button to begin a new era, or whatever. That was fucking awful. But the game up to that point was incredible. I've never played Thrill Kill, but I believe you. Have I seen the Twitter payouts today? Twitter payouts? What does that mean? I uninstalled Twitter from my phone today because I don't want to look at it. Rainbow eyebrows. Yeah, I might do for next week. Engagements. Twitter engagements? I don't know what that means, Wayne. I'm going to need you to be very clear because I haven't been there. Painful Discourse. I missed that. Spriggan, welcome back. We are just finishing up, but anybody else that wants to throw in games from any past era that you'd love to see remade, remastered, not like a really long list, but if you've got top of your list of games you wish would come back, spam those in there. Panzer Dragoon Saga art style was very Team Ico-esque. Yeah, and it's obviously the art style carried across to the other games as well. Panzer Dragoon and Panzer Dragoon Zwei and Panzer Dragoon Orta all had that, like, the art is what carried them because it was very unusual. But Saga was the one that had like a good game and a good story to go with it. Alan Wake Remaster is dirt cheap on Xbox at the moment. And it's how dirt cheap? It's on PlayStation Plus as well, right? I think it's the July game on PlayStation Plus Essentials, maybe. It's not high on. I should probably try and play Alan Wake again before Alan Wake 2 comes out. Did they, in the Alan Wake remaster, did they make it feel less wooden? Like, did they improve the gameplay at all? Or is it just a visual tidy up? Dextro have gotten 100k from Twitter. I definitely see a lot of their content, whether I want to or not. You wonder how easy it is to emulate Saga on PC. It's pretty easy, Replicant. Saturn emulators are like in a good place. You can definitely replicate it on PC. It's not so when I tried to play it like a year ago, I was playing it on the Saturn because I've got a Saturn set up and I've got Panzer Dragoon Saga. Dexato, yeah, that's the ones. Decato. Well, I'm still saying Dex because it's an X. Decato though, yeah. Good for them. I would also like to make 100k. Maybe I'll reinstall Twitter after all. I have not left Twitter. I just don't want it on my phone because it's too easy to browse it. Twitter's such a shit show. So much console warring everywhere. It's all I see. I blame Gaz. Because he like thinks he's dunking on console warriors by engaging with them. But because he engages with them, they just fill my feed. It's just filled with nonsense. Like, ugh, exhausting. So I will try and use Twitter to share things and try and have fun with it, but horrible place. AJH, not a lot know this, but the site stems from an old Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare Rainbow Six community. I did not know that. Gaz does love the console war. We're like very different in that sense. I don't see it. Yeah, he's having a good time. He's having fun. I can see, like, it's nice that it's fun. And he is taking it as fun, but it just gets too much for me. I have to have a break from it. Obviously, I don't like engage with it myself, but even then, just like passively seeing it all. So, I could like all of your tweets and retune my feed. It's possible. I'm not very Twittery. I've got Threads. I am on Threads. I have 0 followers and I follow 0 people. So when I look at Threads, it's like, look what's happening with Liverpool Football Club and Tottenham Football Club and the Kardashians. And I say, thanks Threads. I am not drawn in. Like all of your Threads, why aren't I following you? You've not told me who you are on Threads. Nobody has. Well, not nobody, but you haven't. Who answered my question about Alan Wake? I want to know if it plays differently. We're angry. Someone says, shouldn't you be logging? Thank you, Peter. You are absolutely right. I should be. Oh shit, I really should be. Let's do the next question. Why is it that time already? Is Kim playing for Tottenham or Liverpool this day? It wasn't Kim, it was a different Kardashian. I don't know. I don't know how many of them there are or why I'm supposed to care. Play similar to the original. That's a shame. So Spriggan, you want to see Command & Conquer, Dishonored, Deus Ex and Lost Odyssey. I'm definitely with you on Lost Odyssey. Command & Conquer. I liked Command & Conquer back then, but I don't think it can work today in the age of YouTube. Dishonored is a stealth game. I'm told that I would still enjoy it despite it being a stealth game, so I should play it. But I think it's still quite good. Dishonored I don't think necessarily needs to come back. I think it's still quite good to come play now. Deus Ex is definitely a stealth game that I should try to play. But Lost Odyssey... Oh, excuse me. Lost Odyssey needs a complete, proper remake. I would love to see that. One that has slightly less text. Because it was a very, like, reading-heavy game, I seem to recall, but a really good game. Dishonored, you can go loud and not just stealth. Yeah, and you get, like, powers, right? You can go all telekinesis and do wild things. Used to like Hidden and Dangerous. I know the name Hidden and Dangerous, but I can't picture it. What's a Kardashian? I don't know how to answer that painful discourse. No idea. We ran out of questions a while ago. No, we didn't. Anyway, we're done. So, is it the one with the shotgun? I hope so. Thank you. Like, there's loads of people that are here regularly, so I'm glad that I did bother to put this show on today. An hour earlier didn't do any harm. It will be back to normal time next week, but there's also like a few names that I haven't seen before, so thank you everyone for coming along and watching it. If you're watching after the fact, I hate you. I don't hate you. Thank you for watching after the fact. Please do smash the like button, leave any comments and questions and things, because I say this like fairly frequently. If you leave a comment, I will read it and I will mention it as one of the lead-ins on next week's show. So if you have any questions, do just stick them there. I will get to them eventually. But if you don't, that's fine too. If you just want to watch in silence, that's absolutely fine. Beg me to make videos. Oh, yeah, I know. I know. And we're done. The music was identified by Kerry as Crash Bandicoot 4. Deus Ex can be played as action or stealth. It's a game about choice. I played one of the Deus Exes. I played Revolution. More vids. Peter, I'll try. Everything's so difficult. And I'll be streaming more. Sometimes it will be VR, I'm afraid. I've got to make use of this wonderful treadmill. I'll try and do maybe Exoprimal on Sunday or Street Fighter or something social like that. Bit of both. For now, I am falling asleep on the spot. Follow me, you coward. How dare you? I found the end button, so I'm going to press it.